Hello, welcome to episode 103 of Kaiju Curry House. Tonight, we're going to learn how to kill monsters with Stuart, the director, and Lindsay, the lead actress. But before we go any further, I'm going to introduce my regular co-hosts, Paul and Connor, and we're going to ask everyone, what have Kaiju been up to? Folks, how are we all doing tonight?
Good, thank you, Joe.
That's awesome. Connor, are you doing okay there?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
All right. Stuart, Lindsay, thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, well, it's going to get more fun because we're about to ask everybody's favorite dad pun on this podcast. What have Kaiju been up to? I won't pick on you first because you're the host. But Connor, what have Kaiju been up to?
Well, Joe, unfortunately, you've made me buy more books, unfortunately.
I have that effect on people.
Via your recommendation, I have been reading The Meg, or Gem, as my webcam says. And surprise, surprise, it's actually better than the movie. Who'd have thunk it? But no, unlike the last few books I've actually bought, I actually finished this one, right? So there's that. And I really did enjoy it. And from what I've been told, I've actually been reading the wrong version of the Meg as well, because Steve Alton, the author of the book, apparently did a George Lucas, where basically he did a special edition version of the book where he completely changed the ending of it. So am I going to pick up the original Meg? Probably not. But which I ended up buying the sequel to the Meg, The Trench. Thanks, Joe. And I also bought the prequel to the Meg. Yeah, so I've got a lot of reading on my hands. So yeah,
the trench is my favorite one because large, dangerous, scaly things inhabit the trench, and the Meg is not at the top of the food chain. Whoa!
Oh, thanks for spoiling it. But
it tells you on the back of the cover, dude.
Yeah, but you know, it's like I like to be surprised, Joe. You know, it's like from the last Harry Potter book came out, and you know, like young Connor just read the last page. Oh, he lives. Never mind. Anyways, I'm going to ask Paul now. Paul, what have Kaiju been up to?
I've also been reading, and that's about it. So I read The Relic.
Ooh,
finally, yes. Paul,
finally.
Did you love it?
Yeah, I was so confused, not confused, but after just knowing the film, to then reading the book where there's new characters in like the same story, it was very strange. But I really like Pendergast, and I don't know why he wasn't in the
film. So for those, all right, Stuart, Lizzie, if you haven't read The Relic, you may have seen the movie, but basically it's like they wrote Sherlock Holmes with a monster, but in the movie, they didn't include Sherlock. And if you read The Relic, it suddenly becomes very apparent that the people that were making the movie did not respect the source material, did they, Paul?
It's that they just, I don't know,
they gutted that book.
They were just that's it. They were just looking for shortcuts and thought, well, actually, let's just get rid of this whole character. We'll have one police officer, and that's it.
Let's get rid of the main character. Let's word it that way.
But that's it. There's a whole book series about this FBI agent, and so you'd think with Hollywood they would want to do that so they could be sequels. I mean, they didn't go down that route.
I mean, with the Meg as well, they practically did that, except they pretty much got rid of every single character from that book.
Apart from Jason Statham's character.
Yeah. So in the Relic, the Mubwan, it looks different than they portray it in the movie as well. And it acts quite differently, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, and I like...
The thing that was most eerie is it was intelligent.
Very intelligent, yeah. And I liked how they didn't reveal it till actually the prologue is when you find out what the reveal about what the creature is. Whereas in the film, it's kind of fed throughout. So it was, well, it's obviously a lot longer to read than watch the film, but I did enjoy the book, I think, more than the film.
Yeah. So that was the first book that gave me the heebie-jeebies. Because if you remember, like, when Margot's in the superstition exhibit, which I would presume is a pretty creepy exhibit to be in the dark in anyways. It's just like again, I think I've described it on the podcast before, like when you're in your basement, you haven't flipped on the light, and like there are silhouettes that you can see against the darkness. And she sees a silhouette like slowly shuffling towards her. And I was just like, oh, I don't like that vibe. No, 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 no. Because of course I was reading it like downstairs alone with like a small lamp like across the room. And I'm just like, where did everybody go? But yeah, great book, Paul. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thanks for not making me, but for we had the whole debate over which was better, and now I can say that the book is better.
Remains.
But I still enjoy the film. It didn't take away from the film. It just added a different perspective for it. I still think it's a good fun film.
People say when they've not read Jurassic Park and then they read Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
It's one of those, it's like, oh, they regained control of the park in the book? Huh.
The best part though is when John Hammond rolls down the hill and gets eaten by.
Yeah, so Hammond gets eaten.
Yeah. You know what really made me angry? Muldoon.
Yeah.
So like you watch the movie and you're like, I mean, even as a child, like I saw it when it came out in theaters, and even like the tender young age of like 7 or 8, I'm just thinking in the back of my head, like, that's the one guy who knew how they operated. Yes. The one guy who had any sense. The one guy who was the actual hunter. The one guy who was armed and knew how to use a firearm. And he didn't even hit one.
Clever girl.
Of course, in the book, he's like singing, dancing, pardon my French children, badass. And like he's taken down raptors, he tranks the T-Rex, he rescues the kids, he lives. I mean, there's a pretty entertaining bit where he gets stuck in a pipe and the raptors are trying to get him out of the pipe, and he's just like on the radio with Malcolm, like, I'm very popular right now. Like the sarcasm was right on point, but he dies in the movie. And why?
Steven Spielberg does not like fun.
Steven Spielberg, like he gives plot armor to families, and Muldoon apparently was not part of the family. But oh well. Paul, pick on someone else.
Well, Joe, what have Kaiju been up to? All
right. So I usually get stuck on quests. I get hyper fixated on either an obscure piece of merchandise, a book, or a film. So we have a guest who is going to be coming on the podcast at a later date, and he may have done practical effects for a couple of big films. Anyways, Joe wanted to make a Dragonheart Draco model kit after, like looking at like all the like props, the maquettes and stuff that, like were in the shop at the time this guy was. And I was looking through like the kits and everything, and I found out that like Dragonheart just did not get any merch. It just didn't. And what merch is available is either, like toys, which weren't opened, or this one model kit. And it looks pretty good. The face isn't quite right, but still it's like the one thing. And I've been hunting for it on eBay and other sites because
to be fair, the dragon's face in that movie, it does have some Uncanny Valley vibes if you think about it with the 90s CGI.
Some what?
Uncanny Valley vibes, like there's something not right about that dragon's face. But that's what I think, at least.
It's actually pretty cool the way that they did it. They didn't traditionally animate the CGI around the dragon's face, and they didn't use mocap for it either, because mocap wasn't really a thing in 1996. But what they did create was a computer program which recognized sounds and then modeled lips off of based what it thought this, like the lips this versus the sounds, the way they should be paired together. So that program animated Draco's lips. There weren't actually animators per se going after that. And that was one of the neatest things I found when I was doing some research, because I go on Wikipedia binges late at night and get stuck on stuff. But there we go. Anyways, time to pick on our fantastic guests. Stuart, director of How to Train, or not How to Train, How to Kill
How
Monsters.
to Train Your Monsters. That's
the
next
sequel.
one.
You get one. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of like The Mimic. They keep one. Anyways, Stuart, what have Kaiju been up to? I think you've done some monster-related stuff recently.
Yeah, I mean, outside of making a monster movie, just because you were talking about books, I just read The Terror for the first time.
Oh,
That's an amazing book.
So good, right? And like so creepy. Like
it is creepy.
I became obsessed with it, so I was like, I need to watch the TV show because I'd never seen the TV show.
Okay, is the TV show good? Because I didn't want it to ruin it.
Yes, it's good because Jared Harris is in it and he's like amazing in everything. But yeah, the book was so good. TV show really kind of the most abridged version of the book, but the book
there's a lot of like
the imagination,
suffering and dragging because so to preface The Terror for listeners, we have 2 boats, right? There were originally 3, but the 2 boats get stuck on the ice. They're trying to find the Northwest Passage, and they get stuck in basically Canadian ice in like the Hudson Bay or something like that. Like they're going along, like that northern rim, and they've been stuck in the ice for like a year, something like that. And these guys are just suffering. Morale is low. They're down to like tinned maggots, basically. And there is this thing that has started to come after them. I think I'll leave it at that. But what I was really curious about was there's a lot of character development, almost to the point where it reaches like 2 towers level of dragging on. And if you don't get it just right, because I think The Terror, it builds on these characters really well, and when they die or live or mutiny or whatever, if the show didn't get that right,
yeah, it's not as good as the book. It does, like, the ending's completely different as well. So yeah, I'll let you watch it. It's worth checking out.
Does it live or die? That's my question.
I don't want to spoil it. You just have to see.
See, if you can't just tell me, then I already know.
I will just say I watched the show first before I discovered the book, right? And that's a thick book, by the way, as well.
Yeah, it is.
Oh God. But if we're talking about the monster, I think the book version of the monster is actually better than the show. But yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that because it is a good show. Don't get me wrong. The season 1 of The Terror is pretty good. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Was it like a season, like what do you call those? Like when there's like 7 or 8 episodes and that's it. Like a contained series, like a mini
series or something.
Like a mini series. There you go.
10 episodes, I think, something like that. And then season 2, which I've not seen, is apparently a completely different new original story, but similar themes.
Yeah. Season 1 is the book. Season 2 is basically a ghost story. I haven't actually seen season 2. It's like a ghost story based on the concentration camps that the Americans held Japanese civilians in. So yeah, that's a bit dark, but
out of curiosity, has anybody here seen The River?
Yeah, the TV show The River.
Yeah.
Yeah, we loved that TV show, and that got like brutally cancelled after like a season, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I loved that show.
It was good.
It had it was a cliffhanger ending, but the way that it ended, it also worked because it's just like you realize, oh, they're never getting out of there, are they?
Yeah.
But I mean, like that was good. Yeah, I remember that. Like I enjoyed that series. I thought it was a mini series. And then prior to that, like talking about brutally canceled and topical to this podcast, Surface.
Not seen it. No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a future podcast episode for us. Lindsay, we have to pick on you now. What have Kaiju been up to?
I know. I feel like I'm going to let the side down because I haven't been reading any monster-related books.
Well, you haven't known me long enough.
You've seen monster-related films.
That's fine. I never normally read. It's just by chance.
This is my influence. I remorselessly, peer pressure them into reading books. This is the thing.
The book I'm reading doesn't have any monsters in, unfortunately.
What are you reading?
It's called The Confession. It's really good, but it doesn't have any monsters in it, unfortunately.
It sounds like it could use monsters. It's a great way to make a book more interesting. Throw a monster into it. The Wedding Planner with a monster.
With a monster, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes everything more fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you mentioned you've been watching movies. What movies, pray tell, have you seen with some monstery stuff?
We recently went to Fright Fest, so in London. So we saw a lot of horror movies there. Monster movies that were there. Dog Soldiers was on. I know that's not really a monster movie, but kind of.
We talk anything that is creature featurey. We're fans of.
Werewolves are very much monsters.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that was. I'm trying to think of the other. Were there any other?
I think that was like the only monster movie, practical effects heavy movie that was there. There was Wolf Manor was there as well.
Manor, yeah,
it was like a really fun indie film that's coming out soon about a film shoot. They're shooting a vampire movie, like a Hammer horror movie, at an old manor, and a werewolf shows up. And it's the old actor Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing type has to kind of save the day. It's very much in the vein,
kind of like Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, wow. I was thinking like Fright Night type of thing, where the older kind of actor is brought in as like the one person who can save the day, but he's like
really good.
Drunk, washed up actor who's on like the 6 in the series of a vampire movie he's making. So it was really funny. It's worth checking out. Yeah,
that's awesome. You guys were in London. By chance, did you go to Jurassic World the exhibition?
No, we didn't have time. Like Fright Fest it's like 4 solid days of horror movies
non-stop. Yeah.
And Lindsay was in another film that was also screening there as well.
Oh, awesome! What was the film?
Yes, it's called Eating Miss Campbell. So again, not a monster
what
movie.
What is Campbell eating? I feel like that's the crux of the story there.
Yeah, so my character is she's a vegan goth cannibal. Yep.
Can we dissect that for a second?
So she's
is this like Veggie Tales? Is that how she gets by being a vegan goth cannibal? Or like
well, yeah, she's basically she's like a proud vegan, but she meets her English teacher at school and she falls in love with Miss Campbell. But in the midst of it all, she develops a taste for human flesh. And
it's a trauma movie, by the way.
Yeah.
So there you go. That just explains it.
Interesting subgenre you chose there.
Yeah, it was very.
I mean, my curiosity has been piqued. I'd like to check that out.
It was very different to anything I've done before.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's alone in its category. Yeah.
It was really fun, actually. Like, it was like a sold out screening. People were laughing, clapping the whole way through.
Oh, I can imagine.
Hilarious. Like the jokes in it are absurd, and it's absurdist humor. Like the way I always describe it is, it's like 90s Nickelodeon meets society level horror, weird. God, yeah, it's a bit like Heathers as well. Yeah. It's very 80s inspired.
Yeah,
but it's
so was that a feature length film?
It's a feature, yeah. So it was good. Yeah, Liam Regan, the director. So yeah, it was good. It was good fun, and as Stuart said, the audience really enjoyed it. So that was great just to be there in that kind of environment, and yeah, people seem to really enjoy it. So it's wacky and it's zany, but yeah.
but more importantly, we saw Dog Soldiers with Sean Pertwee and Neil Marshall in attendance, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know your film was there, but Dog Soldiers, guys, come on, like.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's get on to the main segment of the podcast, if we will. We're going to talk about your film, which is How to Kill Monsters. Not Train Them. That's the sequel in development, but How to Kill Monsters. So monsters never seem to be cut a break, but in your film, it looks like they deserve it. So we've watched the trailer, which is amazing. All of you listeners out there, go to the Kickstarter and watch this trailer because it is hilarious. Those of you who are under 15, you might need your parents' permission, especially if you have the volume on. So please seek permission. But if you're over 18 or over 15, I should say, go for it. It's hilarious. It's hot fuzz vibes. It is fourth wall breaking. There's definitely some Evil Dead 2 vibes going on in there as well. So break us down. How did this come in development? What was the inspiration behind making the film?
Yeah, we did a film called Book of Monsters in 2017, which came out in 2018, which was like a proper throwback to 80s horror because I love monster movies, grew up loving monster movies. Like I remember watching Aliens when I was far too young because my dad just didn't care. He was like, yeah, it's fine to watch. And then I had nightmares about xenomorphs for like a good 5 years after that point.
Good, yeah.
Gremlins as well. Like I had nightmares about Gremlins, which is a comedy film.
Well,
I
was the
was
same.
so young.
I saw.
Oh, go on. Pause. The bit with the guy and the syringe and like the gremlin.
Yeah,
it's like the science teacher.
Yeah.
What?
That is terrifying.
I stopped watching that film at that point. I don't remember what age I was, but I was like, that's it. Nope. And of course, you hadn't seen them and saw that they were zany. It's just like that's how they set up like these really goofy creatures with that horrific scene.
I think the most horrific scene is when they put the gremlin in the microwave, actually.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Or the blender as well. It's like one of the blenders with its feet spinning around. I still like, again, other tangent, but like Gremlins is the movie that created like the PG rating as well, like back in the day. Because Spielberg produced the movie, exec produced the movie, and they were going to give it an R rating or a 15 rating, which would have limited the audience. So like he convinced all of the BBFC and the MPAA to create a new rating called PG-13 or 12 so that more people could see the movie. And that's like how powerful Spielberg is. He created a new age rating so that people could go see Gremlins. Which I think is a fun
that is very impressive.
I feel like we all need to pause now because you brought up an excellent point. Horror films that traumatized you as a child. So yours was Gremlins. Mine is Ghostbusters, The Terror Dogs. I don't think I need to say anything more. I was 5. I didn't open the fridge for weeks. My mom will tell the story. Lindsay, do you have a film that scarred you as a child?
Trying to think. I was like scared of everything as a child, like genuinely scared of everything. I remember
you were fun to torment. Cool.
I remember going to see The Grudge in the cinema when I was younger, and I basically
covers. Oh yeah, when she's under the covers. The covers is the safe zone. That's not fair.
Like, I don't remember any of the film because I just looked at the floor for like the whole film. I just never looked at the screen. Like I was just scared of absolutely everything. So, and I still am like scared of everything. So which is always,
glad you went into horror films.
Yeah. It's a genuine acting right there. You're a method actor. Connor, what scarred you?
Oh God. See, the problem is that as a kid, I was never really scared of horror films. I'm not even joking either. Like, maybe because my first horror film I saw was The Thing by John Carpenter. So it's like you sort of get, what's the word? You sort of just like, oh, okay, and there's blood and guts everywhere. But here you go. This is not a horror film, I suppose. One film that freaked me out was The Black Cauldron. It was a Disney film. It was like from when I was very young. It was. I
think we all know The Black Cauldron.
That's really gory. Like the creature effects in it are like scary.
It was. I think what was it? The Horn King. I think it's called. Yeah, just his design was kind of like scary to like a 5-year-old. But I think that's the name of it. I haven't seen it in years. I'm like, oh God. But no, there's not much horror films that scare me, honestly. But yeah. Paul, what creeps you out?
Oh, I was such a wimp. Loads scared me as a child. I tried to watch Aliens because my parents, I don't know, they weren't there, and I stuck it on, and I got as far as Ripley just having the dream of the chest burster coming out, and then I was like, nope, can't watch that. My brother made me watch Cat's
so you
Eyes.
got 20 minutes into the film.
Do you remember Cat's Eyes? Have you seen that, Stephen King?
Yeah.
And there was a story because it follows a cat, and you're seeing different stories for the Cat's Eyes, like an anthology. And there's one story about this little gremlin-y thing that lived in the walls, and he would come out at night and steal the children's breath. Well, I did not sleep probably for a week after seeing that. I was absolutely. My parents, he got a very big telling off for that because I think I was about 7. I think it's an 18, but anyway, yeah. And didn't see Gremlins, but I did see Critters, which was like the knockoff of. And even that scared me.
Oh my gosh. Critters. Now
I
there's a
love
gem.
Critters. I love it now.
DiCaprio's like first movie is
Yes.
great.
And they
Everybody
did how many
knows
now?
that.
Was it five films in a TV series? I think
Yeah.
was
There's
it?
a TV series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's
It's
a
out
reason
there.
you've not seen it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. Anyways, that's one tangent we've explored. I'm glad we did. That was fantastic. So, anyways, you're inspired by 80s horror. You loved horror movies. So how did we land on the concept? Because in
Yeah.
the trailer it looks like summoning ritual gone awry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this goes back to Book of Monsters, our last film, because we made that. And it kind of ends, spoilers, ends with like these three girls kind of teaming up to go and take on the monsters with this book, which has like how to kill all the monsters in it. And we were like, oh, we'll do like Book of Monsters 2. And it's them becoming monster hunters and like going and killing monsters. And then the idea got weirder and weirder. And we were like, this isn't going to work as a sequel anymore. It just needs to be like its own movie. So we really love the idea of the sequel to Book of Monsters being that they all got, the joke is that they save the world and then they all get arrested and just thrown in jail at the end. So we were like, okay, the next movie will take place at a police station. So that idea stayed, of the final girl type character being arrested at the end of a horror movie covered in blood, holding a chainsaw with like loads of blood on it, and being immediately arrested, but thinking as she's being arrested, like that she's being saved and it's finally over, and she just goes straight into like the sequel to a movie. So How to Kill Monsters is very much like what happens after the horror movie's over with the final girl, and like how do things continue on. So that was kind of the fun starting point for the movie. And then really after that point, myself and Paul Butler, who co-wrote the film with me, just thought, okay, what's the most fun thing that can happen in a police station with monsters now? And what are the weirdest, most fun practical effects monsters that we can have? And how are people going to get eaten by them? And that's really how we come up with all our films, is like, oh, wouldn't they really, really be a cool bit where a guy gets just stomped and squeezed like a tube of toothpaste until his head pops off? Like, that's an idea that we have, and then that goes in the movie, and we somehow come up with the story around that. That's pretty much how, the film came about. There is a plot, though, just to be clear. That's a joke. I'm not saying it's all.
Honestly, when you were saying that, my mind went to something else. I was just like thinking in the back of my head, those kids at the end of Monster Squad were so put in juvie.
Yeah, all of them are. Like,
I mean, like,
boys as well.
That's
like...
why there wasn't another Monster Squad. All of them, just like, and then there's like, what was it? There was Horace. Horace had a shotgun, and he was like 10. He's just blacklisted for life, isn't he?
It's like the start of Aliens. Like, Ripley gets put in a tribunal. It's like, you destroyed a ship, everyone's dead, and you're claiming some monster killed everyone. Okay, it's like that would legitimately happen in any of these scenarios. So like, that's what we wanted to do with this film.
Is there any point in the film where someone goes just like, I am so sorry for doubting you? Does anybody get that satisfaction? Because that never happens. Like, even in Aliens, nobody says to Ripley like, yo, Ellen, I gotta pick fault with my own self here. I am really sorry we doubted your testimony.
We definitely have that moment in the film. We try and poke fun at the whole she's the hero, she's the only one who can save the day type of thing. And obviously all the other characters, there can only be one. And there's other characters in there who are also trying to be the hero of the movie as well at the same time. It's not as meta as the actual movie isn't as meta as the trailer is. That was very much for the Kickstarter. Like, there's no voiceovers coming in and telling people what to do. It's very much like a narrative movie, but we do kind of nod, wink, wink at the audience quite a lot. Because I think the key thing is when you're making like a lower budget film that has practical effects monsters, which are people in suits or they're puppets, you gotta have your tongue in cheek, and you gotta wink at the audience and say, I know what we're making here. Like, this is an 80s fun movie we haven't got millions of dollars for effects, so let's just like be in on the joke here of like things not looking quite good. So like when there is a particularly kind of silly monster, the characters are like, that was a stupid why does that exist? So they're like, one of the monsters in the movie is essentially the police chief inspector is retiring, and they have a giant novelty cake made that is essentially
oh my God, did you put a mimic in a movie?
Pretty much. No, when everything goes to hell, the cake becomes alive with teeth and starts eating all the guests at the retirement party. So that was really fun, and it's just like that in itself is absolutely absurd, but as long as the characters in the movie make it feel believable, and that's kind of, I suppose, where you could come in, because you had to act with all these rubber monsters and stuff and legitimately seem scared, which I think as you've seen in the trailer, like her scream is horrible and terrifying. Like we were all on set and she like was getting sacrificed, and I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And she's got like tears in her eyes as if she's actually getting killed. So yeah.
I didn't realize I could scream as loud as I did until I did it. I think there was something. I remember we did the first take, and you were like, "Right, okay, let's just get ready. If you can do the scream, that would be great." And it was Hannah on sound. We were like, maybe you want to step back a little bit, and she was like, no, it'll be fine. And then I did the scream, and she literally ripped the headphones off her ears because the scream was so loud. I don't know where that came from. Just pure terror from being on set. I think.
Years of repressed emotional trauma. I'm sure. Oh my gosh. So the cake, I mean, like the cake monster, like, tell me that someone tries to take a bite out of the cake monster, right? Like that happens, right?
But how do we kill it? We'll eat it.
It's just like, we have no weapons.
One of the ideas.
Or do we?
We joked about like, hey guys, how are we going to do it? It's like, we can't kill it in the normal way. We're going to have to eat our way through this. And they all just come out with like knives and forks and start going at it. But that felt like it's a real fine balance making a horror comedy movie.
So it must be hard to tread that line.
Oh, it's so hard because if you make it too wacky, the stakes in the movie immediately like drop. And if you diminish the stakes in a horror comedy movie too much, you go, well, it doesn't really matter who lives or dies or anything because this is all nonsense. And I think that's why we kind of like, we love like Edgar Wright's like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and stuff like that, where like they're like a sufficient level of silliness and kind of, it's finding that balance really. So we didn't have them eat their way out of the cake. But they do kill it in a really fun way. And we tried to do that with all the monsters, is that they have a fun... Each monster's got its own characteristic, and they're all like wildly different. So you've seen the one in the Kickstarter trailers, this kind of Lovecraftian plant thing.
Yeah. Which looks generally terrifying. I mean, we see it. Yeah. I love it. There's that shot on the Kickstarter page where you're seeing the jaw and the teeth. And it's like, oh, that looks pretty creepy, actually.
That was so fun as well. And like all the monsters are made by DDFX Studio, who are based in Coventry. And it's just two brothers called Paul and Mark, and they make all the monsters. And they brought that on set. And like when you look at it, it's literally a morph suit with bits of plastic and bubble wrap attached to it. And like this big helmet, and you're like, oh, that's weird. But then they started attaching tentacles to it on fishing wires, and then they got this ultra slime out, which is the stuff they use on like aliens to make the xenomorphs all shiny. You cover it in that, and then you get the lights on, the smoke machine out, and it's like, oh, that legitimately is amazing. But like we did some pickup shots, which are like shots to get after the main shoot, where we're like, oh, we need another shot of the monster. And I spent 2 hours in that costume, and I have the utmost respect now for like effects guys and creature performers, because it was the sweatiest, most painful experience of all time. But also very fun, because you're just there going like, looking like a complete moron.
It's every kid's dream to dress up in like a shit-a-bit monster costume and scare the ever-living daylights out of other people.
Well, I've got all of the monsters in my garage now.
Your Halloween is going to be lit.
Oh yes.
Well, that's why I'm thinking one of them is like a 7 foot tall, just like a giant mouth. And I'm like, where can I put that at Halloween to scare the crap out of like all the kids in the neighborhood?
Do you ever forget that they're actually in the garage? So you actually go in.
Every time I walk in, I'm like, oh yeah, there's loads of body parts in here. And that's the worst part, is there is loads and loads of fake body parts, which are like really realistic looking skeletons with like flesh and organs in, and there's like
So if the police raid your house,
Yeah.
they'd be like, ah,
yeah.
oh,
I mean, every time we do a film, like the last movie we did, we filmed on location where there was a scene where a police car pulls up at their house, the cops get torn to pieces, and then the monster blows up the police car. And we had to obviously tell the police we were filming this. All night, cop cars were showing up, and they were like, "Oh, this looks awesome! Let me look at the body. Let me hold the fake leg." They all love it. That's the thing. So, I think if the police ever do show up, as I've found, is they just absolutely love that we're making a movie that has police in and has them being killed. Weirdly enough, they seem to think that's hilarious. So,
so I have another question. You've mentioned that you've got some like goofy monsters in here. Some like, why is that a thing? The guinea pig monster, really? But are there ones that you tried to make truly terrifying?
I think there's some scary monsters in it. I don't want to give too much because, like, I think if we talk about all the monsters at this,
no, but you went for it on some of them, right?
yeah, like there's always we did it with Book of Monsters. We had that, like you said in the trailer. There's like some little gnomes at the end that show up, which are essentially reanimated garden gnomes that have been taken over by this like monster entity. That's like the silly monster, but then like you have to. So the cake in this one is the silly monster, but then we have like some really horrific Lovecraftian monsters that eat people and dissolve people.
Like the Blob. That was traumatic.
Yeah, I mean, The Blob, the 1980s remake of The Blob, is an amazing special effects laden movie.
They killed the kid. I wasn't expecting that.
So
nobody was.
Yeah, we did a lot of. So there's monsters that like melt people's faces off and eat people. There's a lot of decapitations in the movie as well. So I think it's pretty horrifying. There's some crazy stuff that happens, and we tried to make some of the monsters really scary. So yeah, I think there's some really fun stuff in the movie, and we've got some puppets as well this time. Because another thing that inspired this is I love stuff like Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. So we were like, why don't we have a puppet that is proper 80s inspired puppet with rod arms? So we've got these little, we call them the critters, but that's copyright infringement. We can't call them critters. I suppose we'll call them the ankle biters is what we call them. So these little creatures in the movie that were the most fun to film with because they were like little puppets running around, pulling people's limbs off. So that was a really fun one to do as well.
What was your favorite scene to film, Lindsay, if you can share with us? So any particular one where you were fighting something off or telling someone off?
To be honest, there's so many. And again, I don't want to do any kind of spoilers. So I'll talk specifically about the Kickstarter trailer, about the fun moments in that one.
Okay.
So working with the monster on the Kickstarter, it was super fun because, as Stuart said, the having the limbs on fishing wire. It was fishing wire, right?
Yeah.
Just made the monster just huge. And because obviously in the Kickstarter trailer, I'm sort of laying down, and all the tentacles are kind of all over. There's 5 cast members, I think, on the floor. I think there's 5 of us. And it's so, yeah, it was just so surreal to be on that kind of set. You know, when you're kind of thinking, what are we filming right now? There was just goo everywhere, blood, like tentacles. And that was a lot of fun to be able to interact with the monster in that way. And not just being, okay, so just pretend that the monster's here. So I always enjoy that with your films, just because using practical effects and using monsters and puppets and things like that, it's great to actually be able to see what you're coming up against.
It was really fun, like in the trailer, because you're lying there. And I just remember seeing like the blood spurting. It's like, okay, there's a little bit of blood. Then someone went for it. And you're just sitting there like,
don't talk to her about that.
You could tell. I mean, like, it was really funny because, like, on the one hand, like, I could tell like you were acting, but at the same time, like, just through your eyes, you're just like, this is so annoying.
Nothing could have prepared me for that.
And it's actually the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter shoot for that trailer was like a 2-day shoot, and actually with that, we kind of treated the Kickstarter shoot, because we shot that back in April, as kind of like a little test shoot for the movie. And then in June, we shot, in our first block of shooting, we shot the actual cabin scenes for the film. And I was like, okay, the one thing I learned is we need way more blood. There's just not enough blood. So that scene where she's like lying on the floor and the blood's pouring on her, it's 10 times what it was in the Kickstarter trailer with guts and body parts. And it's like insane. It's like we just dialed it up even more, and Lindsay had a great time.
Yeah, that was
So everybody talks about like the time it takes to put makeup on for like a film. What was like your degorification process? How long did that take? Were you like picking bits out of your hair? Like, what was this?
it was intense. Yeah, it was. I can't even, as I said, it was. I thought on the Kickstarter when we did the Kickstarter trailer, I thought I'm never going to have this much blood poured on me again. I was so wrong. Like, I can't even describe how much more I get on me in the film. But yeah, taking the blood off did it, because I've got dark hair as well, and in the trailer I've got braids in my hair. I didn't realize how much was still in my hair until I got home and had a shower. And then just the sheer volume of blood that was just everywhere in the bathroom. Yeah, you just don't realize. And then it's quite funny when you've got the blood on you.
It stains, doesn't it? Like you have to like really scrub or something.
Well, the blood that we used, thankfully, is actually really good because it comes off really easily.
Industry street secrets right there.
Yeah.
Right type of blood to get for your film.
Yeah.
90% of the budget is spent on the blood.
The blood.
Yeah.
And it's it just washes out really easily, and particularly the costume. Because the costume I had has like a white, it's white on the top. And obviously it was red by the time we finished filming. But we washed it and it came out like it was brand new, and I couldn't believe it because of how much
it wasn't ketchup, basically.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't.
I think that for me is like as an indie filmmaker, but also a watcher of many, many low budget movies, you can tell when the director made the blood themselves, because it's like thick, syrupy, made with like food ingredients, and it will never wash out. And I know people who've like had permanent, like not permanent, but like 2 weeks of like a red arm or hair dyed because of like low budget blood.
Yeah.
So we were like,
This
we
is
need
actually,
to get
so
good
this
blood.
is the thing. I actually took a first aid course last weekend.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so like I learned about blood, right? So apparently if you hit a vein or an artery, it has a different consistency. So an artery, that's the spurty kind, but a vein, it like oozes out, like it's oozy. So I was just, like, it looks like some, directors are like all about the veins, but like you guys went, the shock and awe artery route. So.
All of them.
We only hit arteries in this picture.
Yeah.
Incidentally.
But yeah, it does wash out really well, but it's when you first get it on, it's not nice because it's just so sticky. Like it stays sticky for about half an hour, and then it dries, and it feels like I feel like a lizard. Like it goes all like crusty. That's the kind of only way
it peels. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. But then you kind of forget it's there. And we did have a scenario where we were filming. I had it all over my face pretty much every day on set, and I was walking out of the studio, and somebody was walking towards me who wasn't involved in the film, and they came out of it like of the elevator, and it opened, and they were like, ah, and I was like, what's wrong? And then forgetting that I was covered in blood, and I was like, oh, it's not mine. I'm like, it's not real.
I really like watermelon. It's fine.
It's fine.
There's a tomato soup eating contest. It's all good.
But yeah, as I said, it does wash out really well. But yeah, there's an unbelievable amount of blood in this film. And yeah, I don't stay dry for very long in the film. I am covered in blood for most of it.
Yeah, the whole movie pretty much.
Yeah, it was yeah.
So if you haven't finished filming yet, this is a thing that like I've always wanted to see in like one of these pictures where someone gets fed up of having like the blood all over their face and bothers to wash it.
Yeah, we
off.
did that.
Oh, thank goodness. There's one
like,
movie that does that.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it's like we do it a few times because it always reminds me of, do you remember Last Action Hero where Arnie falls in like the tar pit?
Yeah.
And then he gets one piece of tissue and he just goes like that, and he's like completely, but that's like the joke.
Yeah.
And it's like that. Great. So we have like
yeah,
I can't say it.
Yeah, they can't say it.
She gets covered in loads of stuff for a certain reason, and then like the next scene, we just start on like a close up and track back, and she's just wiping her face. It's all gone, and they're all like, "Oh, wow, that's pretty good." So like, we just wanted to acknowledge that, and also you would do that, wouldn't you? Like I'm so like OCD with like stuff on my hands. Like I eat a bag of crisps and I'm like, I've got to wash my hands because they're like having the stuff on me. Like in a horror movie, I'd be like, I'm having a shower right now. Like I don't care.
Well, it's not even that. So like I jog, right? And I have glasses. So like if my sweat drips on my glasses, like I'm partially blinded, like I'm gonna stop and like try it off and like mumble to myself, like I need sports glasses, but I'm too cheap to get some because I'm spending it all on monster books. But it's just like that's annoying.
Yeah.
And to like think of like these people in like these films, like there's blood and goo and whatever, and it's on your face and it's on your lips. It's just like
Yeah. You're gonna wipe.
It's like
it's never shown.
No. Well,
Yeah.
now it is at last.
we do it. We show her wiping it off, but that's mainly because I felt bad for Lindsay because she starts the movie in the cabin with blood, then she gets to the police station, and then during like the mugshot processing montage, we do a bit of an Edgar Wright montage where she has a shower and then she's in the police interview, and then 10 minutes later the monsters show up and she gets
Covered in blood.
So like Lindsay had to be in blood most of the time, and one of the I'm sure, I mean, it was fine for me because I didn't have to do it, but every day, like the first thing the actors get in, they get the costume, and then it's like, okay, let's get the blood on, and everyone, we'd look at photos of like the last scene we filmed and go, okay, what did they have? And we'd just be like throwing blood and trying to match the blood from like yesterday's filming.
Every morning I'd just be in the mirror like, okay, need the blood here. I may as well have just done this. But it became a thing where we wanted to make sure we got it exact.
But this is another interesting movie fact, is that there's like a big scene in the film and in our film where blood gets splattered on like everyone who's in the prison cells in like one big go. And because you only have really one take or two takes max of like doing that big effect, whatever blood landed on everyone was their continuity for the whole movie, unless they got more on them. So every day they had to get that matched. Some of the actors were really clever and like hid behind other actors, so they only got a little bit on them. Lindsay's right at the front. It's just like
I didn't have a choice. I'm behind anyone.
So every day, like some of these actors like came in and it's like, oh yeah, I only got a little bit here and like a little bit here, and Lindsay's just like a bucket.
Pretty
every
much.
day.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh no, I've got this little bit on my face. I'd be like, really? Really? Have you seen my face?
I can just imagine whoever was splashing blood over everyone had the biggest grin on their face when they were doing it.
Oh, honestly, yeah. I think one of the girls took a video of the people stood there with the blood cannons and the buckets, and they've all got
the
big
blood
stars
cannons.
The blood
Sounds
cannons,
amazing,
yeah.
doesn't it?
That
And then everyone's got the biggest smiles on their faces. This one stood there, really excited for
the
the shot.
blood cannons. It's like a vampire's
honestly,
wet dream.
yeah, that sentence happens all the time. They're like, "Can we get the blood cannon out for Lindsay?" I'm like, "Why?" Like,
Yeah, we got like these pressurized. It's like a little.
This is a
rocket
specialist piece of
launcher.
equipment that like the regular layperson just does not know exists. Like,
Well, it's
there are
I mean,
blood cannons in the world.
well, there's different levels. So you have something called the basic level is you have a little pot and you just use your hand and flick it, and then you go to what's called a pango, which is like a little potato gun, and you pump it up like a water pistol, and then you just go bang, and it fires like maybe like that much. The blood cannon was like a mortar, a World War II mortar that you would pump up, and then you'd like punch a button, and it would just go bang. And then there's like levels above that where our effects guy was like, "I'll just get a fire extinguisher," and he filled a fire extinguisher with blood and was just going of that on everybody. So. It was fun, and I think the biggest one we did was there was about 4 people with just buckets of blood, and we just went, just throw the buckets at them, and it's just, you can see it just cascading along the floor, and then we're like, okay, cut, right, can we get this cleaned up, please? And there's people there with mops going, and then they've got like clean it up because
So
it's
what
also
are these
not
people
safe.
listed as in your credits? Like you've come up with creative titles, right? This isn't just going to be Gore Specialist 1, Gore Specialist
Yeah,
2.
we need like the blood mopper and things like
Yeah.
that.
I really think
everyone
you
chipped
need the
in.
blood cannon artillery crew. I mean, like if that makes it into the credits, people are gonna be like, blood cannon. I have found a career path.
It's a very specialist career.
Yeah.
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 Did you learn a lot from Book of Monsters to go on to this film, do you think?
Yeah, I think Book of Monsters was like, because that was like super low budget film. Like everyone kind of gave their time, a lot of it for very little. So it was just everyone kind of like trying to work out how do we do monsters? How do we
Yeah.
light monsters? How do we have it work? So we learned a lot of lessons on that, and that was really just like the reason why we wanted to do this film. Was like, okay, we know what we're doing now.
Yeah,
We know
let's
how
take it
to
up a
do it.
notch.
Yeah. It's like we know now, and also like when you make films, I mean, it's a positive and a negative, but you read every single review. You find out what people liked, you find out what people hated, and you take all that on board and you put it into the next movie. And the goal is, as long as you're not making the same mistakes twice and you're always doing better. So we just went in going, okay, let's make a better movie, a bigger movie. Let's do the monsters even better. Let's do even more gore. Let's really up the ante on everything. And I'm really, the stuff we've shot so far, like, I couldn't be happier with it. And like, I'm editing the movie at the moment, and it's just so much fun to watch. And I feel like it's a very action packed film, because another kind of bugbear of mine of low budget films is because they don't have money, they have lots of scenes where people just stand around talking about the plot or about the monster and how it looks, but we never see it. And we're just like, no, here's the monster attacking. Oh, wait, next scene, another monster eats this guy. Then this happens, and there's like action, while still like building the lore of the world and the mythology. That's like, I'm really into that. And that's, I think, another big part of monster movies for me is like learning about the monsters and where they come from, and the backstory. So we try to get that in as well. Yeah, sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, it's fine. I am
Go
Lord Chief
ramble.
and expert on this podcast, so I'm
Nice. I love, yeah, we've even like our Uncle Frank Productions, who did the concept art behind you there, Paul.
Yeah.
He's made a whole Eldritch alphabet for the movie, which is in the movie, and he's like assigned letters to it all, and each letter of the alphabet is themed after a different monster. And I think you only actually see 6 of them in the movie, but there's like all these cool monsters with backstories that is all linked to this like ancient civilization that we want to explore in the future, maybe.
Wow.
Because I want to keep making monster movies because it's so much fun. So much fun.
Awesome. Because I saw on the Kickstarter you've got a game and comic tie-in as well, haven't you? So you're really fleshing out this universe.
Well, it's like we just felt like we know some great game developers who we've been chatting for years about like we should do a video game tie-in or like a combination. And it just kind of worked out that this is the movie we do that on. So that's got to be really fun to have the game that allows you to play like a different version of the movie, and fight the monsters as well, which is really fun with whatever weapons you want to use. And then the comic book as well, like that's another way to do like a fresh, different art style of the events of the movie, but from a different perspective as well. And like the team that's working on that is so cool. And like it's as a huge like geek myself who reads like I've got like all the Aliens comics, all the Dark Horse ones. I'm starting reading the Marvel ones actually.
the Dark Horse ones are the best.
Yeah, exactly. And like I just love like cross media of like my favorite stuff, especially when it comes to monsters. And I'm like, I want to do that. So it's just fun to do that. And I think that's what we always try and do as Dark Rift Horror as a company, is like, what is going to be fun? Like, I'll be upfront and honest, we're not making movies that are going to change the world or challenge the socio-political climate. We're making fun monster movies. So what is the most fun thing we can do is what we're always thinking.
Have you ever thought about trying to make, because I know you've done some, you did, what was it, Beneath the Surface?
Creature Below, yeah.
Creature Below, and that's proper horror, isn't it? That's not a comedy.
That was very serious film, yeah.
So have you thought about doing more
What was
serious, or are you
Creature Below
preferring
about? I need to know.
a Creature Below?
Yeah, the Creature Below was it was essentially about a marine biologist goes on a deep sea dive. She's like designed this experimental prototype diving suit, and she goes deeper than ever before, and she encounters a Lovecraftian creature, a Cthulhu type creature, and she brings back one of its eggs, and she hides it in her basement. It starts to grow, and it forms this kind of symbiotic bond with her, and makes her slowly feed more and more people to it. We always call it's like a Lovecraftian Little Shop of Horrors.
That was a way to say.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's weird, and it takes itself, in my opinion, a bit too serious. That was like our first movie, We made it for £12,000, which is not a budget you want to ever make a movie on, because that's like nothing. But I'm really proud of what we did. But it was like making that movie. We were like, this is so serious. Like, and we were on set and we had a practical monster in there. There's like a big squid monster that's eating people in the basement. And we were like, could be so much fun. And we're like having to restrain ourselves and try and keep it serious and not show very much of the monster to try and keep it serious. Because at the end of the day, if you point a camera and some lights at it, it's just a big piece of latex with floppy tentacles. And that's where things kind of the strain starts to show on it. And we were like, let's do something really fun. And that's why we made Book of Monsters, because we were like, well, let's do a silly 80s film that's like Evil Dead 2, where it's just balls to the wall, crazy fun, gore, and stuff like that. But myself and Paul, who write all the films together, we've got like 5 movies kind of written out. And I'd say half of them are like really serious, like horrors. And I think 90% of them are monster movies as well, because we can't help it. We cannot help it at all.
So, Lindsay, we've talked a little bit about Evil Dead, and there are few weapons that we've already talked about. I don't think you went after anything with blood cannons per se, but there are some gnarly scenes with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
So did you have other weapons, or were you just chainsaw brandishing the whole time? Do you have a preferred weapon? What is the best way to dispatch a monster?
I mean, for me, it's the chainsaw. Because I'm in Book of Monsters as well, and I use the chainsaw in Book of Monsters, so I feel like one with the chainsaw now when I'm in in movies. There are other weapons that I used in the movie, but I think my go-to seems to be the chainsaw. And as you can see from the image there that's in use, but I think the chainsaw that's the way to go, definitely. We've used that chainsaw a lot.
We used it a lot of times, and it's a cool weapon, but we've got like we've got a weapon called the Eldritch Blade, which in the movie, which we've shown a bit on the Kickstarter and on our social media posts, which is we always, myself and Paul, when we came up with the movie, were like, imagine like the cryptex from the Da Vinci Code, but a sword that's also this living entity that's kind of been fossilized. So it's like a mini little Cthulhu with a combination lock that you have to put in the right combination to extend this really cool sword from to fight monsters with, because it's like the thing that kills the monsters. So that's like the new cool weapon in the movie, but you didn't really get to use that very much on set.
No, I didn't know. No, my character didn't interact with that much, but I do use the chainsaw. Yeah, quite a lot.
You're like, of all the people that have had to use that, and everyone on set, as soon as you get everyone on set and they see the props table, everyone wants to go and pick it up. Like Lindsay's like the most, she really wields it well, like, and knows how it works. And then other people are really awkwardly doing it. And she's like, no, you got to hold it like this, and you've got to like hold it up and do it like this, so it feels like it's heavy.
You have to pretend it's heavy. Yeah, it's obviously not heavy.
Because it wasn't a real chainsaw. It's actually a Dyson.
You didn't use a real chainsaw?
Hell no, that's not safe.
There were no OSHA violations? Oh my gosh.
We're very health and safety conscious on our films. Very health and safety. But I know, I mean, when you think back to Evil Dead, like, they did use a real chainsaw. Yeah. Like, it
was a different time.
They used a real gun to like shoot holes in the cabin and stuff. It's like, it's insane.
They actually cut off Bruce Campbell's hand. I'm joking, but
You know, we've been rambling for nearly an hour now, so our plan of taking breaks has worked really well.
I told you this would happen.
It sounds like a fantastic Kickstarter opportunity. So let's tell folks how they can back it and where they need to go.
Yeah, you can head over to Kickstarter. I can't actually read out the link because it's like the longest link ever.
Don't you worry about that.
But yeah,
we'll take care of that.
Thank you so much. But yeah, if you head over to Kickstarter, search for How to Kill Monsters. We hit 50% funded in 7 days. We've got 21 days left. So I'm pretty confident that we'll make it. But you never know with Kickstarter. We need all the help we can get.
So what's the final day we can back?
6th of October, 4 p.m. GMT is when it ends. That's 8 a.m. Central Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Somehow I know that.
You're good. You're good.
So please do back it. If you like Evil Dead 2 or Hot Fuzz, or you just love like me, you love practical effects driven 80s monster movies, because every monster in this is 100% practical. There's no CGI. Then I think you will like How to Kill Monsters. So yeah, please support us and help us and pick up some limited edition Blu-rays and stuff that is exclusive to the campaign. You're not going to be able to get it after the campaign. This is your only chance.
It's awesome. So there are a couple of reward tiers too. So, more money, more perks. So can you break down some of those for us? What are some cool ones?
Yeah. We spent a lot of time trying to come up with cool reward tiers, because I'm looking at like a stack of collector's edition Blu-rays right now of like films that I've bought. So like we wanted to make some cool stuff. So like you can get like a normal Blu-ray for £20, but you can get like a hand-numbered collector's edition Blu-ray for 30, which is limited to 2,000 copies only. It comes with the slipcover, art cards that are signed by the cast of the movie, and that's going to be really cool. But then you can also get that with t-shirts and posters, or you can pick up one of our bigger bundles, which include the comic book, the video game. We've really tried to tailor it to every kind of budget level. If you've only got like £5 and you just want to support, that would also be appreciated. The one thing that we're doing is everyone who puts in money, no matter how much, is going to get access to our like backers only Facebook group and Discord, where we're going to actually take you on set of the movie and show you like behind the scenes, show us making the movie. We're going to try and not give everything away, but essentially Lindsay's going to be with you on set just going, hey, today we're filming this, we're doing that. Which is really fun. And of the shoot that we've already done, like the amount of behind the scenes, I've got like a terabyte of just behind the scenes footage of us just making everything, like interviews with the monster guys, how we're making it. So yeah, it's not just about getting the rewards, it's about the experience. We want to give people of just like, hey, we're going to make this movie, come and join us making it, be part of our community. And everyone who pays, I think, £20 or more gets their name on the credits of the movie and the video game as well. So you'll be immortalized on the film, which we hope will go to big places. Fingers crossed.
Is £20 like the perfect like all around one, or is there like
£20 is like
tier?
That is the first tier where you get the Blu-ray. So £20 or more, you're going to get the Blu-ray, and every time you go up in the price tier, you get more and more cool stuff. So if you like physical merch, you want to be going up to those bundles.
So are there any tiers where you do not get to see the film?
Yeah, the first two. So there's £5 is just like a thank you for your support tier, where you get the behind the scenes access. And then I think £10 is the you just get the video game. £15 or more is where you get the film as well, but it's only a digital copy. So
that's
£20 is your minimum for the Blu-ray.
So folks, we are recommending minimum £15 investment to see the film, right? Because it looks like a hilarious, awesome film. That's why we're having this discussion. So £15, that's where it starts, folks. Thank yous aside. That's where we want to hit.
So what's the? I'm curious now. What's the top tier? The highest we can go.
Ooh, Paul. Big spender.
You can literally be, if you put in £5,000, we'll make you an executive producer of the movie, and we'll start chatting very regularly about the whole filmmaking process. We're going to give you support and feedback on making your own film. We're going to give you VIP treatment to all the film festivals internationally. If there's any opportunity for you to kind of come and be involved in any other part of the movie making process, that's something we can talk about. And also you get a really cool clapperboard from the set that's signed by like the whole cast and crew. And essentially we did this with Book of Monsters as well. All our executive producers we're very good friends with now and like have come on set with us. We had a guy fly over from New York to visit the set, which was super cool, and he stayed with us on our last movie. And really, it's just a big opportunity to be involved in like the actual production side of the movie on a more professional level. And you're going to get an executive produced by title card in the movie as well. So it's kind of like a big way to, if you're interested in films and you've got money to spare and you want to like be involved in the movie in a major way, like that's the perk to go for. And I think you get like loads and loads of cool goodies with that as well as like a little bonus. But really, it's the credit that you're going for with that.
Nice. There we go. How to Kill Monsters, currently on Kickstarter, October 6th is the last day which you can donate. We're talking a minimum 15 pounds to see the film. Go for it, folks. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this episode up. We always wrap up with if nothing else. So this is where we give shout outs to obscure things that our listeners might not have heard of. This is your chance to plug other projects. But yeah, we're just going to try and open up the fandom to other cool stuff. So, Stu, Lindsay, what do we got here? We got a previous film that you'd like to throw out as a recommendation?
I mean, yeah, if you like the look at How to Kill Monsters, maybe check out our last film, Book of Monsters.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's streaming on Amazon Prime Video. It's on Arrow Player. It's on the Horror Channel, which is just rebranded to Legend, I think. So I think you can find it on the Freeview service there. And if you're in the US, you can get it on Blu-ray from Dread. Yeah, it's out in a lot of countries. So yeah, if you like 80s horror, Book of Monsters is available now. And if you buy it directly from us, we'll both sign a copy for you as well.
How do you do that?
Wow.
Head over to darkrifthorror.com and I will literally hand package and sign a copy and send it to you. And all the profits from those movies, sales from us directly, go into our next movie as well. So it all supports us in making more monster movies.
Awesome.
There we go. So darkrifthorror.com.
That's it.
Cool. There we go, folks. That is a fantastic recommendation. Paul, what you got?
I mean, obviously, we're going to say back the film. I was going to say, yeah, check out Book of Monsters because I saw it's included with Prime Video. And The Creature Below, which we talked about, that's on, is it Freeview? There's a channel you can watch it on for free. You can watch it through Amazon, I saw as well. So definitely check that out. Other than that, I just wanted to mention, because I love the film Tremors. Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? Sadly, we had Steve Wilson on, the creator, and his father videotaped like the making of it. And Steve's been uploading these films to his YouTube channel so everyone can see all this behind the scenes footage that was shot decades ago.
Wow.
And his father just recently passed away, and so he's done like a little he's done an episode saying goodbye to his dad, basically. And I just wanted to say, for any Tremors fans, obviously watch this channel because it's amazing to see behind the scenes, but also just I suppose view it and send some condolences to Steve, because it's sad day for Tremors fans, but it's also such a great channel. So anything on a downer there, sorry, but I saw what I wanted to share. I know. We've had all this fun, but Connor, if nothing else, lighten the mood.
Well, it's only a couple of weeks till payday, so I'll just say back the film as well. Also, like I mentioned, read the Meg. There's 6 Meg books.
Not all of them are as good as the first.
Oh God, there's 6 of them. But,
I mean, like, they almost went that direction with Jaws, to be fair. The films,
yeah.
Oh, Marty.
Oh, can I make one more recommendation that I've just got into and I'm telling everyone about? Is the Alien audiobooks on Audible. Have you guys listened to those before?
I know that they did a redo of Alien 3 with Michael Biehn. That's one of the audiobooks. But
that's one of them, and that's really good. But they've done like an original audio drama. It's not just like an audiobook with a narrator reading it. Full audio cast, sound effects, everything. Closest we're gonna get to an new Alien film for a while. But Alien Out of the Shadows, the person they've got playing Ripley sounds exactly like Sigourney Weaver. I thoroughly recommend it if you've got like a long drive or anything. I was just listening on my way to work and I was like getting too into it, like waiting in the car park just so I can listen to a bit more. Do check it out. I would recommend it.
Nice. I'm going to throw out another book because that's what Joe does. So I've been looking at my little personal library, and I haven't given it a shout out before on this podcast, but there was a professor who in the 70s, 80s Anyways, he was really into his cryptozoology, and he looked at the Loch Ness monster and a few other cryptozoological creatures, and he used science to justify them. And he meticulously went through every sighting, every occurrence, all the plausible stuff, looked at weather, blah, blah, blah. They're good reads. They're dry reads, but they're good reads. So his one about the monster of Loch Ness, I mean, the monsters of Loch Ness, like that's more well known. But there's a harder to find book, which I looked prior to making this recommendation. You can grab hold of it, but it is a fun read. He actually financed an expedition to the Congo to look for the McIntee Mbembe, which, if you've ever seen Baby Secret of the Lost Legend, which is one of Disney's mistakes, shall we say, I enjoyed it. But the whole idea is that there's actually a creature in the Congo which resembles a sauropod dinosaur. That's Littlefoot, basically, folks. And it's a real local legend. It's an old local legend. And the reason that he went to the Congo was because a group of natives killed one and ate it and got very sick off of the meat. And they went out to try and look for this creature, and he chronicled the whole thing, and he went through his justification and all that other stuff for this creature, and its name means the one that blocks the flow of rivers. So it's a big old critter. Anyways, it's called A Living Dinosaur. It's by Rob McCall, and it's a fun read. It's a legitimate, like, true adventure story about a group of scientists that just go looking for a dinosaur in the Congo. And that's very Edgar Rice Burroughs-esque. Now, shocker, they don't find the dinosaur.
Oh no.
However, they were shown a lot of evidence by the natives who are aware of these creatures. And they say that there are others like McIntee Mbembe. So you hear the other local legends of large, scaly creatures that are not crocodiles, because they know what a crocodile is, and they go through them. So I always thought it was a very romantic concept that the Congo, which hasn't changed much geographically as the continents have spread apart, it's pretty lush. It's by the equator. It's very dense, and it actually has held quite a few secrets, including the okapi. So if anybody's seen an okapi in a zoo, it's the relative giraffe. The back end looks like a zebra. We didn't know about that thing until the last century, and it's quite large. So it's a very romantic take on looking for monsters, so to speak. So you can still grab hold of it. It's a bit of an older book, but it's worth a read. But his other book, The Monsters of Loch Ness, it's not quite as romantic because Loch Ness is fairly accessible by, most terms. Like you can drive there. Joe is going to drive there the first week of October. But anyways, A Living Dinosaur. It's a pretty fun book, and I give it my recommendation. Connor, you might not finish that one if you pick it up.
I was just going to say there's another legend about the Congo, about this gorilla that speaks. It uses like a computer to speak. I think they made a movie about it. I'm not sure, but oh god,
what a great movie! Tim Curry. Tim Curry.
Have you guys read the book?
Movie,
Have you read the book? Because the
No.
book is.
I'm desperate to read it. It's on my list.
Yeah. So, the ugly gorillas, the deformed ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it explains how they come into being. And
no!
You already know where this is going.
Scenarios there.
Multiple chapters, descriptions of images.
I think it's a good time to wrap up.
Yeah, that note.
Children, don't read the Congo until you're an adult, please. No. You can read Eaters of the Dead, though. That's a good one by Crichton. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for listening. Go back How to Kill Monsters on Kickstarter before October 6th. Pledge at least £15. And as always, keep it kaiju. I wanted to like vibe check. So have you guys seen Tammy and the T-Rex?
Yes, I've got it on,
not
I've got it on
again.
Blu-ray.
Yes! I am looking for allies. I am looking for
It's
allies.
hilarious. I love it.
That is the film.
I mean, it's so stupid, but like the concept itself, like
I'm trying to get our 13-year-old girl to watch it with us, Miss TikTok herself, and I'm thinking that she's going to love this film, but she just refuses.
which version though? Because there's like the R-rated cut, and then there's
the good one.
yeah,
the good one.
It's
one
so
version.
gory as well.
I have the special edition with the slipcase in the book. Thank you
Same
very
here, man.
much.
Yeah. That was like a day one purchase when I saw they were releasing that. I was like, Paul Walker's brain in a giant robot T-Rex that Denise Richard falls in love with. What a concept!
Yeah.